What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Someone's PC YouTube. Today we have another deck profile with super exciting blue hybrids. I have not been playing the deck, but I got my boy Albert Leyva, who has been playing the deck to some really good results. And um, we are doing, just to kind of get some stuff out of the way, Someone's PC is going to start doing some local tourneys on our Discord. I'll have the link below. It'll be Tuesdays. I think it's cap 32, $11 entry, and then it'll be like 4 boxes total split among top 8 if it maxes out. But yeah, guys, check that out and let's get that going on Tuesdays. But I'm going to let Albert take it away. Go ahead, man.
What's up, guys? It's Albert here. I've been piloting blue for about since BT7 started, probably like the second week after. I just want to say a big shout out to the world champ Chunk because this list was inspired by him. It originally was his list, just with some few changes, and the few changes were just cutting out the Shrabies and adding more Tamers or a Boko. But we'll get down to the list. I am playing 4 Madoki Betamon and 4 Shiaku. I'm maxing on the floodgates because right now floodgates are really, really oppressing. They're really good, especially in the mirror, especially against Cherubi. You make the reheats go to Evo for 3. Same thing with Jet Sylphies. If you could put them at 3 memory, they Evo into a 4. And they try to Jet Sylphie for 1. They Jet Sylphie for 3, so it passes turn. I am playing, my other rookie is only playing 4 Strabi of BT4. I think this 4 Strabi is the best Strabi out of the 3. BT7 Strabi does kind of the same thing, but you can only add 1, and it's only Koji Hybrid or a Susano. I think those are the only 3 options. This Strabi lets you add a blue Tamer and a blue Hybrid. Blue Hybrid. So, if you get, when you drop it for 3, it's like basically just another Boko. You just add 2 searches you have. I play 4 Boko. I play 4 Boko because I want consistency in my deck. 4 Boko, you drop it, you want to open it, you drop it for 3, you reveal 5, you could get 2 cards off it. And it goes really good for the memory gain if you're a free level 4. If you have multiple, you gain 2 or 4 memory. And it's just really good, so if you ever play against the blue matchup, you don't want to get stunned, that's your first opening, you get to swing away and see if it dies. It's a good head dunker. For my hybrids, I only play 8 of the level 4s, which are 4 Kuma and 4 Korikaku, Big Bear and Little Bear. Self-explanatory, Kuma trips Source, Korikaku stuns 1. They have good synergy with Sora Joe, with the eggs I'm playing, with Tommy, and they just help you trigger your Sword Joes and the other tamer I'm playing. I'm only playing 4 of the Beowulf BT7, BT7. It's good. It bounces a level 4 lower back to the hand by just returning a hybrid from the Digivolution sources, and it helps you get rid of floodgates. It helps you get rid of other Bokos. It helps you get rid of other level 4s that are, potentially threatening board or something. I don't know. The one card I am playing that is a level 6 is a Zulongmon. Like I said, this list was inspired by Chungman, the World Championship winner for NA. Zulongmon, I was questioning at first until I seen him do some crazy plays with it. He'd even lethal with it. I think he evoed on top of his Beowulf to gain back, I think, like 6 memory or something like that. So he gained back all that memory. I just remember watching him play testing, and he's going against Yellow Hybrid, and the Yellow Hybrid player had about 8 bodies on board. He swung with the Beowulf. The Beowulf survived. He knew he didn't have lethal because he drew into the Zulongmon off the Beowulf evolution. After he swung with Beowulf to survive, he evoed onto a Zulong, gained the memory back to evo for the next lethal hit. So you could use it for memory gain. You could use it to lethal. A lot of players are using it for lethal. Some people use it to just get memory gain and choke. For my options, I am playing 4 Hammer Spark. 4 Hammer Spark, it saves you when people are going super aggro. It's really good to gain the memory back. And, we'll take it back to 1.0 when people checked hammer sparks and got mad because they checked hammer sparks. It's a good security bomb. My other option is 3 of the Halley memory boosts. I know players are playing probably Supreme Cannon or Aqua Viper or even 2 Halley memory boosts. I think 3 Halley memory boosts is fine. It helps you in the late game against yellow hybrids that are playing Dynasmon that want to stretch out the game. It's good against True Rubymon. If you want to shift the sources to Rihi or True Ruby, get rid of this Kyochi so they can't gain a memory on deletion. It's really good against the mirror match, and it's just good if it gets hit in security because next turn if they don't have a Madoki, a Terrier, or a Gazi, depending what you're playing, it is really good just to pop it, get the memory that you need to extend a play or to even memory choke or drop more floodgates. And then we're obviously playing the one Ice Wall. Ice Wall, there's no explanation for that. Everyone knows how good it was. It got hit for a reason. And yeah, just Ice Walls just acts like another hammer spark in security. For my tamers, I am playing 4 Davises. A lot of people are playing 3. I know people are going to say 4 Davis is a lot, but Davis is a card I want to see right away. It's a card I want in security, just in case I do not see it. It is your memory tamer, and it is also a searcher to add a hybrid. It's really good if you can add a Strabi because if you hit a Strabi, if Davis gets hit in security, you can add a Strabi to the hand, and then the following turn you can use it to Evo on top of an egg, or just use it to Evo on top, or not Evo, but hard drop search for 2 more cards or potentially 1 card. And it goes really good to add floodgates if you're missing any floodgates. Next, I'm playing 4 Sword Joe. Everyone knows how strong Sword Joe is. With Sword Strip, especially if you're able to stun with this deck, Sword Joe just gives you all that memory you can use to win the game out or to extend your plays. Playing 4 Tommy, we need the stuns. Tommy is really good. I can see why people wanted it banned when the banless second rotation came around when Savior, Eismon, Ice Wall, and MDF got hit. I can see why people wanted Tommy to get hit. So, yeah. And then I'm playing the one Matashita from the starter deck, the first starter decks that came out, the blue one. Matashita acts like a mini Sword Joe. It's also a good way to choke memory. If you start it off, it's a good little 2-drop. It's just really good at Evo on top of 2 if you don't want to waste a Davis or a Sword Joe. Now, I know I should have done my eggs first, but for my eggs, I'm playing 4 Kiaru and 1 Upa. I think Kiaru is really good in this version of the deck because you're always stripping cards, and Kiaru is just drawing you a lot, especially if you have multiple cards that have Kiaru as a source, and you swing, tap Sword Joe, strip a source, you're drawing 3 cards. It's just it's a really good card to get to your to the cards you need by drawing them, and you don't have to swing with it. You can just stay on it. You could just make sure your floodgates don't die if you need to swing. And then the one Upamon is just really, it's just Upamon. It's probably the best egg, the best blue egg, but we don't want to swing with our floodgates or swing with the one Strabi that we put on top of. We want to wait and establish our board and establish our place.
Cool. I mean, it looks like you went for max consistency on all the cards. I think the question I have for you on the deck list is, I think one of the winners of DigiFest was asked, I believe by Hong, who he said, what was the most underperforming card of the deck? And the guy responded with Sora Joe. And I thought that was interesting because, I think we're a firm believer that Sora Joe is pretty much the strongest card in the game right now. And he was saying that maybe you play like higher counts of the 2-cost mat because it's the lower cost helps, kind of when you need to get more tamers down, and not pass over turns. So how do you feel about Sora Joe versus Matt? Do you think you should up the count of Matt, or you just really, really like Sora Joe and what it brings?
I think it's based on the build you have. Like I said, a lot of people have different builds. There's a lot of blue decks that are playing the Magna package with the Koji, playing 2 Koji, 2 Magna. I think Sora Joe should stay at 4. This deck is built to Sword Strip, and it's built to stun your opponent. Sora Joe also enables you to gain 2 memory. Imagine if you have 3 to 4 Sora Joes, and, with the Davis, you're going to get max memory out of it, right? You're going to go up to 9, 10. Sora Joe enables you Kiarus to draw. You can swing. It also helps you with the Zulong. Say if you can't strip a source to everything, say if they have 3 bodies and you three bodies, and two of them only have one source, but the other one has three sources. You evolve on two Zulong, trip one source to the bottom, swing with the Zulong, tap Sword Joe, then you get another sec +1. So I really think it's based on your build. Um, I'll answer your question with the underperforming card. I think probably the underperforming card. It just depends on your matchups, I guess. I would say is it's funny because I was gonna say Matt. You know, Matt is kind of underperforming, but it's up there. But I would say probably I don't know Shiaku or Boko. Uh, Boko in the mirror match kind of sucks if you don't have any side, but it's a searcher. But I would say Shiaku because if you play against Jesmon, which Jesmon everyone knows that they have that perfect curve. It's kind of hard to beat, but Shiaku versus Jesmon is kind of rough. And there is a couple matches I played against Jesmon, and Shiaku was just sitting there doing nothing because he doesn't really stop Jesmon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the best card is probably Tommy. I love Tommy. I think Tommy's my favorite card in the game. And I don't know. I feel like each card has its merits, and it just depends on your matchup. Because, like I said, Shiaku's good against other hybrids, but against non-hybrids, that it kind of sucks.
Okay.
Especially against like green. You know, green. If you have a Shiaku, they could just stun it and run it over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they could clash with it and then Evo top a Rhino swing for and get their beetle still if they kill it. But like I said, it just depends on your matchups. I think personally every card hits good in this deck. I think everyone could agree with me that's watching this deck profile, and then the one that is interviewing, which is you, that blue is the best deck right now in the format. It's because it has both two floodgates that, not all colors. I don't think any color has two floodgates right now. And it has the most consistency in the deck. You have 4 Davis, you have 4 Boko, and you have 4 Straubis, and you have the other Straubi that can search out a hybrid or a Koji if you're playing a Koji. So it just depends. They have a lot of consistency in this deck.
Okay. So with the Ultimate Cups coming up and those kind of being the main events that we are going, or the main big events that people are kind of going to be playing for, I do think Blue Hybrid is going to be one of the top played decks by far. I think pretty much everyone can agree with that. But with no side decks, it's going to be interesting in terms of do you think there's certain cards that potentially you would consider adding to the main deck now that side decks are no more for these events, or just cards that potentially could make its way in depending on the meta or what matchups you depend on seeing?
Yeah, I think cards could fit in. Like you could adjust the list. Not everyone's list is the best list. There's always going to be a better list, but I think cards that you could fit in or try to fit in are Supreme Cannon. So I think everyone could agree the Supreme Cannon is really good. It was one of the side cards for blue. It's good against Cherubi if it's in security and they do the little pop the piñata and then drop all these bodies and they hit the Supreme Cannon, and they just lose their bushies, their bokos, and all that stuff. It's good against yellow purple hybrid if they drop the Gazi, you need to get rid of the Gazi or Boko, and then it's good against blue. It resets the blue hand or field. Not sorry, field. If they go double floodgate Boko or even they just have a bunch of not level 3s, but a bunch of 3K or lower Digimon on the board, you go Supreme Cannon, reset the board, and now they're playing behind because they just got all these cards back, and you could now assess your board if you have Howling Memory Boost or activated already. If you have a Boko on the field that you want to gain memory off of, but Doku's preventing it or Shiaku's are preventing you from Digivolution reduction. I also think Aqua Viper is a really good card too. It plays around the meta. You can bounce 2 cards back by bouncing back one of your cards that is stun. And I think I talked to Jackson Wong about this. I think at their fest we played in a little LCS tournament, and then after I asked him some couple of questions, but I think we're talking about Hexblow. Hexblow could also be a card you could try to main. It is really good against Cherubi. They pop the Pianta, they can't swing out. It's good against things that you strip sources to. Jesmon, if you're able to hit a Tommy, stop the Jesmon from destroying you, and they have all these sisters that have no sources. They can't attack or block, so it just depends how you want to build your list. A lot of people are playing Magna package because Magna, Garurumon, and Koji could bounce back level 6s, so you could bounce back Jesmon and bounce back Cherubi. And or Dynasmon. Dynasmon's also a really annoying card to deal with. So, you could side in Magna Gurus with Koji to get rid of the annoying level 6s that you can't get rid of, because what this deck class lacks the most is removal for big Digimon.
For sure. And I think, there's quite a few decks right now in the format still, because these Digifest or the Ultimate Cups are still going to have Jessmon and Lilithmon around. So the format's going to be still quite wide in terms of decks. Is there any decks, you can go through the matchups, but is there any deck that you're really worried about with this, matchups that you're worried about with this list?
Matchups, yes. And I'm gonna say this. I feel like any deck could be beatable. I know people want to say, blue is the best deck right now because of all the floodgates and consistency it has. Uh, and people say blue beats Cherubi, but I know I'm gonna use a word that's been used around since the beginning of the format. So once PC used it at the beginning of your guys' podcast, it was the word skilled. And I'm not saying like you have to be a top player, topping consistently, but I think the word skill takes a lot in this format. I feel that you have to know what your matchups are. And I have lost to really good Cherubimon players, and they say blue has a good matchup against Cherubimon. I lost against a lot of good yellow purple players, and they said that yellow purple is supposed to be easy. Jessmon too. They said Jessmon should be one of your easy matchups, but the other day I just got stumped out by it because he was just playing it so good, and I was like, damn, bro, this guy's playing it really good. I feel that if you know your in and outs of each deck, you should be able to beat any deck in the format. Yellow green, not yellow green, but green mono or green hybrid or gotcha green. It's an annoying deck to deal with because Metal Copy Terry stuns your little dudes for one. If they have a JP, you don't have a Shiaku out, and they just kill your guys, and then they make Argo Monitor, they Nidhogg your board. But I feel like matchups in general, if you know how to play the game, you know how to play against certain matchups and decks, you should be able to beat any deck. But if you're not, I would say, I know if you're just trying to take this deck, right? You're trying to take this deck and play it with no experience or not knowing any decks, I would feel like your worst match is the blue deck, because the better blue players can counter you hard, and it happens all the time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, and I think, that, as you said, this format is so skilled, and there's so many threats, and each deck has a threat. But as long as if you have the matchup knowledge and you know what to expect, right, then you can kind of maybe not avoid it, but kind of play around and try to minimize those big threats that the other decks have. There is, I think there's a, Russell and I think we've been going back and forth, and kind of yellow in the beginning was supposed to be kind of the bad matchup for blue. And then as we played it more, we realized that, okay, this is actually a lot closer than we think. And maybe in some ways, blue might be favored, depending. Is there certain cards in yellow? Because I think yellow is very flexible in maybe the kind of cards it can play, or even like the megas it can play. There's just like a ton of different ways to play it. Is there certain like cards in yellow where if you see that, you're like, okay, this becomes a little bit harder than if they were not playing that yellow mega or whatever card?
Yeah, Holy Flame. Holy Flame's a card that gets really annoying because in the blue versus yellow matchup, you kind of want to go wide with your tamers and try to establish as many memory as you can, and you try to want to punch them out before their TK. If they have TK Kari on the field, you want to try to punch them out before those are able to proc, because once those proc, it's like Sword of Joe, they gain all this memory. So Holy Flame and security just screws up your whole plan. You're like, oh, like shit, like this is gonna be. I just lost a turn, and he has less security than me, and he has these 2 to 3 sword, or not Sword Joes, but TK Karis in the field. Now he's gonna be oppressive, and to top off TK Kari, another card is Serafimon BT1 against blue. And people are like, why Serafimon? It's only 10k, blah 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 blah. This, well, with all the memory they get, they could play around Shiaku. But if they have a Shiaku, they could go into Jet Sylph into Serafi. That's 2 recoveries. That puts them over 3 or more. Now that Serafimon's going to hit for sec +1. And at that point, they're going advantage over you, because now they're recovering their security as they're plenishing yours, as they're not plenishing, but they're getting rid of yours.
Mhm.
So BT1 Seraphimon is really, really good. Mastamon, you know, if you're afraid the hammer sparks in there, you just blinding, you blinding Ray, or if you have that memory, you just Mastamon and get rid of potential threats and bring out a bushing swing for game. I
Mastamon for
think,
game, man. Oh, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
think those, yeah, no, I think those three cards and probably Purge-Shine, but Purge-Shine has to be like you have to hit 2, so you can't go into Kumamon or like anything higher, anything that's gonna be like 6K. Purge-Shine's one of those cards that you have to watch out for, but I honestly think Holy Flame's annoying. Swords could be annoying, but you know, it's kind of like the probe option. If you can know how to play around it by just going Evo into hybrid swing, dies Evo to hybrid swing. You want to kill him with hybrid punches instead of going wide with your rookies or trying to establish a wide board, because swords will just destroy your board. But Holy Flame is really annoying. That card will save and win games for the yellow matchup if they have an insecurity. It's also good in hand, because if you need to stop a card from punching you next turn, it's a -3. And then, like you said, BT1 Seraphim, it's 10K. There's nothing in blue that stops it besides the Zulongmon. And sometimes the Zulongmon's either bottom deck because you rebuild it off of Boko, or it's in your hand chilling. You're like, shit. Okay, if you BT1 Seraphim, I'm losing 2 memory, or losing 2 security right now.
Yep. So this deck, obviously, different slight different variations of this deck have just kind of dominated the 2 Digifests. I think they were first, second, and third at both tournaments, and with kind of a purple deck coming in fourth at both. And that was with side decks. Now, without side decks at these Ultimate Cups, do you think that kind of brings down blue a little bit? Do you think like side decks made blue like super oppressive, or do you think it doesn't change much? What are your thoughts on that?
What is Ultimate Cup? So what? Mulligan no side, right?
Yeah, it's Mulligan no side.
I don't think it brings blue down a lot. I think it favors blue more, because now those matchups that people think they have a bad matchup with against, or they have the deck that thinks they have a bad matchup against blue, they don't have that side, right? They don't have that side to help them out. Now they got to build their deck to put those techs in to beat the blue deck, and they're losing consistency in their deck. And with moles, we can all agree that we thought moles were going to help Jessamine out, but in reality, it helps the best decks out.
Yeah.
For example, I played Winamax Tuesday for a True Champ Games. I played against this Shuriman player game 2, and my opening hand was going first. He made me go first. Opening hand was Davis, Torjo, Tommy, Hammer Spark, and Halley Memory Boost. I didn't have any Digimon. I had no level 3 to evolve the egg, or no Boko, no searchers. The only searcher was Davis, so I had to play Davis past him forward to so I can start with 3. And when I played Davis, I revealed a Strabi, a Boko, and a Tommy, right? And then I grabbed the Strabi, obviously, because it's the only target. But the rest of the bottom, next I drew into another Davis. And then I evoed on top of Strabi and got into a Kumamon. So at that point, my hand, if I would have mulliganed, that hand would have been 10 times better than the first hand, because I already had everything I needed to start getting an advantage on the turn. Mulligan helps better decks furthermore into the tournaments, like getting you past those difficult rounds and getting you past difficult matchups. Blue, Cherubi, and I think yellow, purple. I think those are the best 3 decks right now in the format. And if they have a hand they don't like, and they're playing against black or blue, green, or any variation of green, or against Jessamine, and they need a better hand, they mulligan and they get the better hand. And especially with a deck that has so much consistency as blue, if you don't like that hand, you're like, you know what? I want to start off with more Tamers, or I want to start off with more Digimon. You mulligan that hand, you have a better chance of getting the hand you want. And I think mulligans with no side, I think blue is going to be their favorable deck in that tournament, in both tournaments.
All right. And then I think the other question I had for you, now I'm blanking all of a sudden.
That's fine.
The other question I had was, hold on. This is embarrassing. So in the mirror, I mean, obviously, I think mirror is going to be a big decider in kind of if you go far, right? Like blue is very
Yeah.
strong, but as you said, the better player, the person who knows the ins and outs of the matchups, um, is going to win, almost all the time. So I'm going to ask you to spill the beans here a little bit. But what do you think some of the key things that maybe some people, like if you just pick up the deck, maybe they don't pick up on right away, but these things can kind of help in that mirror matchup?
Um, I said earlier, build Beowulf in the back. Building Beowulf in the back is so big, and it's big because if you use the lineup of going into an egg, into a Shrabi, into a Kuma, into a Beowulf, right there, if that Beowulf sticks and doesn't get sword strip, you have two bounces with Beowulf. You have the turn you bring it up and swing, bounce, and then you have next turn because now you're bouncing two high. You have two hybrids. Beowulf it's really good building up in the back. It's really, really key. I also think just be patient. Don't don't feel like you're in a losing position if they hit you for two. You know, start establishing your tamers. Don't be afraid to swing with your Pokemon. People want to stick their Boko because they want to value the two memory that you get to Evo for free a lot more. No, Boko is horrible against the mirror match. You do not want that card stunned because you cannot Evo on top of it, and you can't get rid of it unless you are teching Aqua Viper. Um, don't be afraid to swing with your Boko, and Zulong at the right time. Zulong is really crucial, and make sure if you're swinging for game, you swing with Madoki last, and you heat your Madoki Betamon in safe clearing because, like I said, Hammer Spark and Ice Ball are the only security bombs. And if you swing a Boko first and that Boko dies, and then later on in security checks, you hit a couple Hammer Sparks, even one Hammer Spark, that could really change the outcome of the game.
All right, that sounds pretty good. I think after watching, this deck is very flexible. It's as I think you've told me before. It's kind of like a control based deck, and then you kind of swing in all at you kind of swing in at the right time to end the game. But up until that point, you're controlling. But I think if you watched the World Championship stream, you can kind of see that in action with Chung, right? He kind of just adapts to the situation, and he doesn't have this deck doesn't have like a very linear path where I think decks maybe like yellow are pretty linear in what they're trying to do, and this deck can kind of flex around each matchup and kind of change slight combinations of cards that you would play during a turn to kind of force people into an awkward situation. Yeah, man, do you have any shout outs or any last thoughts or anything like that?
Yeah, I want to shout out to first. I want to shout out to my Portable squad, the Squid. They got me into Digimon. Shout outs to Wong. He's the one that taught me Digimon. Basically, got me into meta. I want to shout out to the Noi Boys, which are Cam and Gage, aka Beaver. Cam is the one that's interviewing me right now. Shout out to him. If it wasn't for his list, I would have got top 4 in BT6 format. And if it wasn't for Gage pushing me to my competitive level, I wouldn't be here right now. Shout outs to the HMG squad. I love those guys. Those guys are funny. They're funny to talk to. They, they especially Sack and Marky. They're also two competitive players that pushed me over to the top. And shout out to everyone else that I have a big list. I don't want to get into it. It's just a lot of players. But shout out to everyone that I met down the road. Digimon's community. I'm blessed to be a part of it. They are very friendly. They're very welcoming. It's not like the Yuga community I came from, where people are trying to hold on to the best deck because they want to win more. I think this community, we're all pushing each other. We're all sharing deck lists. We're all getting into groups. We're becoming part of teams. You have GFG and two pro games, Mario. You have all these great guys hosting these tournaments, and even the content creators are getting, they're getting with their player base compared to other card games. The content creators do not get into their player base. So, shout out to the Digimon community. You guys are great. And then, like I said, big shout out to Chunk. I watched him play. I kind of tried to break down his list. I think I was off the first revision of it, and I just stuck to my list because I felt more comfortable with it. I adjusted it down the road. I added the extra Boko. I added the extra Davis. I cut out the BT7 Strawbies. I felt like they weren't good for me. And that's about it.
Dope, man.
And
Oh,
one last thing, don't I
yeah,
always joke
another
around that don't forget to swing out, bro. Just swing out.
swing
If
out,
you
man.
if you're in a bad predicament, bro, just swing out. Swinging out gets you every win, bro. I kid you not. Just swing out.
All right, man. Well, if you guys want to get some reps in with this blue deck, because like we said, this is a very skill intensive format. I do think like while blue is has kind of shown that it is the best deck, this is a format where you just really want to know your deck going into and all the matchups going into this. So if you're going to pick up blue, don't think you're just going to pick up blue like the week before the tournament and do well. You need to put reps in. I think this is where Digimon is really showing its skillfulness, and it's been a really exciting format. So guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Dope, bro. 30 minutes. Very good.